Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday to you all. Today we're going to be reviewing the earnings of Paramount, HASBRO, and Applied Materials that all reported earnings yesterday. And we're going to see how the stocks traded on the day of earnings, along with where we see the future, the bull and the bear scenario. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So we're going to start off with HASBRO first. HASBRO reported a $1.31 earnings. The earnings whisper was $1.29 and $1.30 for market consensus. Link down in the description below to Earnings Whisper. Great site. Always check it out for earnings. It gives you all the best information. The reported revenue is $1.68 billion with the estimated revenue of $1.97. So definitely a miss there. Also, they issued lower guidance, which, as you can probably guess, the chart looks pretty crappy. They had a hanging man candle. For all that don't know what a hanging man candle is when you have a significant wind caught at the top. You have the body here. Think of it as rope, head, body here. So then you're hanging from there. But also on the daily, just looking at this as a quick glance, we have a head and shoulders pattern forming, left shoulder, head. Probably you'll come down to form this base, to redefine this base. I think you get to bounce off this low and possibly form that right shoulder to a more shaped point. Or if we assume that this is the formation of the right shoulder, then I'd be looking once you break the neck baseline, that probably around the $56, $57 range, and see continuation down, breaking these lows of $54.81. I definitely see lower prices ahead. On top of when we zoom out, as you guys know, all the moving averages are significantly far away, along with the 200 weekly. You know how I view the 200 weekly. If you're below it, you don't trade this as long-term investing until you get back above this 200 weekly. Now, for swing trades, I'd be looking more on the bearish shorting side than the bullish side. On top of that, just looking here, we do have what is appearing to be a big bear flag forming. So you have sideways consolidation forming the flag right here off the tops of the head and shoulders. If we calculate where that's going to go to, we draw it out to the bottom. Target price of $37.50, around that region. So definitely something to be on the lookout for when trading HASBRO. If we look back at where that kind of puts us, this puts us below the COVID lows of 2020. We could see probably some consolidation in that region. I'm not saying it's going to hit $37 on the dot, but definitely revisiting these COVID lows would be something that I'd be very interested in seeing on HASBRO. Also, once you break below the $54.87, you got a lot of unfilled price action in this area. Basically, $54.80 is your shorting opportunity. You break that, you ride the short down to where you're gonna stop selling off. You probably see significant volume capitulation from the stock once you get down there, because you would have a lot of people that have been holding this company for a significant amount of time, almost looking like a big bubble waiting to burst right here. What would invalidate this pattern? Well, it's pretty simple. You got to trade above the swing high for the head of $66.33. So once you break that, it kind of invalidates this pattern, and you need to start tackling these higher prices, this area of $69, and then the 200 and the 50 weekly. So let's take a look at what the Lux Algo is telling us for HASBRO. So when I look at this, confirming the bearishness, your MACD is diverged, but possibly going to start curling back towards one another. RSI is in the bearish territory, about to cross even lower, probably creating another sell-off. Oscillation is starting to turn downwards, so definitely more downside potential here. You're below the trend. On top of, you're probably heading to the support zone at the $55 range. That's what I was kind of saying, that you would probably form the next base for the head and shoulders and then push up higher and get rejected, or you may just go right through this zone and go lower. If we look at the weekly to see what it's telling us, basically you have a selling opportunity here, and then you have a strong low sitting right around the $41 region. Weekly as well, you look here, your MACD is starting to probably cross bearish, heading into crossing. The weekly chart looks pretty bad to me, guys. I see a large consolidation in this region. You have a hanging man candle, and then you're consolidating in this region, waiting to break out. You just got bad news. There is probably an 80% chance this breaks to the downside. Also, once MACD crosses, because it is a weekly graph, it's already going to confirm the move, but you're seeing a lot of bearish signs here. RSI almost going to cross to oversold and keep going. Remember, stocks can stay oversold for a significant period of time before they reverse. Where I'd be looking to pick up HASBRO, probably around the COVID lows. That would be a good price point for me. RSI on the weekly would significantly be oversold. Same way with MACD, but I would like to see that volume capitulation come in and a nice bottom be formed there. So right now it's a stay away from HASBRO, but I believe it'll be an excellent opportunity in the coming future. Next, we're going to go to Paramount. Paramount Network had a reported earnings of 8 cents. The earnings whisper was 15 cents and the market consensus was 18 cents. That was a significant miss on EPS, along with reported revenue of 8.13 billion, expected 8.08 billion. So, you know what I guys say is EPS is kind of a fudged number that I really don't trust. I look at the revenue and the guidance that they provide. That kind of goes through with how Paramount Network actually performed today. So when the news came out, you started lower and then you pushed up. What I don't like is that we didn't necessarily find support at the 200 daily, and you're in this kangaroo, as I call it. You're breaking between the moving averages, got rejected off the 50 weekly, and now you're heading lower, broke below the 200 where you didn't find support, and then you push back above it. So it's this kangaroo that no one really wants to be a part of. Getting into it, you get early into the action, but it's just, there's too much risk there for getting in now when this whole move hasn't really sorted it out. And what I would basically say is, if I was looking to invest in the company, and if we take a look at its long-term trend, 200's all the way up here, so you guys know how I feel about that. But I do see some opportunities here. You formed a W here, so you pushed up. That makes sense why you're reaching these areas, and you're starting to challenge these weekly moving averages and the 200 daily moving average. So to me, it's a pretty simple trade for a swing opportunity or maybe even a long-term investment. If you want to have a little more riskier appetite, it is to have 2 candle closes above this 23.72 area. And once you have that full body closes, you invest in it. And then your stop loss is your 50 weekly moving average, probably set slightly below. That way, just if it wicks past, it doesn't necessarily trigger the stop loss. Simply, next buying opportunity probably be this 50-day moving average here, sitting around $20.13. Paramount has had a nice move up, so it could have been a pretty run up to earnings. So you pretty much have 2 zones that you need to pay attention to. Like we said, the $20 and the $24, $25 range. Get above there or get down to here. Probably be an interesting swing or a long-term investment. And let's take a look at what Luxalga is telling us on the daily. You had a nice push up, coming down. MACD could possibly cross bullish here. Again, like I said, once you get above that moving average, it probably has a nice expansion afterwards. MACD would support that push up, RSI going possibly to oversold for historical levels. That's why this is a kangaroo. Your MACD is telling you one thing, the RSI is telling you another. Why bother playing that risk and just giving the market free donations, as I call it? Wait for this to sort itself out, and it definitely has a lot of opportunity. Next selling point probably be the $27, $26 region. That'll probably where I see a pullback. Retest the 50 weekly moving average if you break above it, or if you break down below, looking in this $18 range or $16 range for support. And possibly even this $20 range where you have the moving average. If you break the moving average, next support around the $16 area with a strong, probably maybe forming a double low. But really we have to see what the charts are going to tell us. Next, we're going to go into our final company, Applied Materials. So Applied Materials reported earnings of $2.03. Earning whisper was $1.98 and the market consensus was $1.93, so beating EPS. Now for revenue, they reported a revenue of $6.74 billion, estimated at $6.69 billion, so beating revenue there slightly. So now let's see what they did on the chart. Pretty sideways day, I would say. You're kind of running up into earnings, pushing into that day, sold off on, so it could be something in their guidance call. You are pretty overstretched from this 50-day moving average, so I could possibly see a retest. I don't consider this necessarily to be a bull flag because of how steep the decline is. Now, maybe it is, maybe it's not. We have to see a little more evidence to support that. But if you do have an A to B pattern here, I'd definitely be looking to see A to B, B to C, targeting $130 for the stock. That is confirmed once you trade above the swing point of here of $125 and don't break the $112 swing low. If you do start breaking this 114 to 112 area, I don't see a lot of price support until you get to the 109, which is your 50-day moving average. Probably retest it, and then I would see what the charts are telling me. You're above all the moving averages, check there. You did have this big sell off from your all-time high of $166. As you climb this staircase, as I call it, you're going to find sellers in this region. You're going to find sellers in this region. So you took out the supply zone here, about the 119.36 level, and the next big supply zone is at $140, but it's going to take you a little bit of time to get up there. So there is a definite possibility that you could keep climbing here. I see strong fundamentals from what the stock is doing. You do have this long-term uptrend right here that you're forming. So definitely something that would be considered as bullish, but I really have to see if you hold it, because you're kind of breaking it here once I redrew the line. So high probability is you retest this 50-day moving average and bounce. That's what I'd be looking at. Let's see what Lux Algo is going to tell us. AMAT on the daily, pretty much what we were suspecting. You're converging and diverging on the MACD, which is a bearish sign. You have divergence in the oscillation and RSI heading down lower. You're most likely heading for that 50-day moving average, which is sitting at $108. So $108 region here, probably in this zone right here, middle of the cloud. Probably may even wick down to the 105, possibly, depending on the momentum you come down to. And if you get down to the 105, you're probably going down to this 50 weekly moving average, which is even a better opportunity in my opinion to buy. If we look at the weekly to see what it's telling us, you're stalling out in this region. MACD is crossing bearish. RSI is still on the bullish side, but has the possibility to go bearish side. I think the company needs a healthy pullback based on what I'm seeing here. And if this is a healthy pullback, probably the 108, then 105 region would be my targets. If this is a bull flag, then I'd be looking into that 130 region as the completion. You probably hit the reversal zone. If you manage to keep pushing into the 140s, I'd definitely be taking profit there, or looking to possibly trim my position for a later re-entry down the road. It is a dividend company, so you may be looking at this from a buying opportunity perspective. I'd be looking more at the 105, 108 region to load up on some shares for the dividend. Overall, this is a very bullish looking company. Or overall, the moving averages, you had decent earnings, but you were pretty overstretched from the moving averages. So a nice pullback will be healthy for the stock to then continue higher. You're probably going to break this weak high here that you formed on low volume. So we have to really see where we go from there. So now that you guys stuck around to the end, I'm going to give you a little thoughts on the market and what we saw today. So let's dive into that real quick. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ both formed hammers on the day. What a hammer is when you have a massive wick and a very small body. You closed actually below where you opened on the S&P, same with the NASDAQ, and you most likely are heading lower. PPI data was absolutely atrocious. It is showing inflation is coming back. There's now talks of the 50 basis point revival from the Federal Reserve. We need to see what other Federal Reserve chairs do say it as well, but you're failing to break here. You're probably heading down to this region of, on the NASDAQ, probably 295. On the S&P, I wouldn't be surprised if you come down all the way to 403 or 400 to find support, which would be right where your 50 weekly moving average is sitting at 400 right here. I think you have to have a significant catalyst to break that, because it now is support. But we have to be on the lookout, because when we come down here, all these moving averages are going to start converging right around the end of February into March, where we get jobs numbers, we get CPI again. And I'd be definitely on the lookout to see what the next CPI print. I think I would be very nimble. Right now, I'm looking short side. I'm shorting the NASDAQ, the S&P, Apple, Nvidia, and longing natural gas, like you guys know. And I actually closed out my Microsoft position today for nearly 70% profit on the spread, which I took profits because I said, well, I'm not going to wait for this 2 more weeks to come back and take all my money. I'll look to re-enter if Microsoft has a nice push. We did close outside of value today on the NASDAQ. I'm going to be going over in the future volume profiles, but basically Once you close out a value, which is this line right here, you most likely are going to retest it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see NASDAQ up 0.6 or 0.5 tomorrow. Same with S&P around that region. Or we may test it overnight and then open green with a possible further sell-off. So definitely be on the lookout for that point. For you that trade the QQQs and SPY, on QQ I'd be looking at 304.95 to pick up shorts, and on the S&P I'd be looking at around the 408 region for that as well, depending on what we get and how we get it. So if you guys like this video, please hit the like button for us. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see more of the content, we have our weekend deep dive coming out tomorrow. We're actually going to be doing it together with me and my buddy. So you get both our opinions on this weekend deep dive because it's going to be a jam-packed deep dive. Hit subscribe to stay tuned for that. Hit the bell notification so you get notified when that video comes out. And if you have any ticker requests, throw it down below. We're always happy to take people's ticker requests. So thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your Friday.